Hello, my name is Mark Titterington and welcome to another edition of the Forum for the Future of Agriculture's Food Systems podcast. Earlier this year at our annual conference, my colleague Alex Turk had the opportunity to interview some of our fantastic speakers. So sit back and enjoy some of the interesting insights and takeaways that we were able to take from this year's annual conference. Alex, over to you.
Luís joins me now, and you've just spoken to the panel at the forum. Luís, you are the Secretary of Trade and International Relations, Ministry of Agriculture in Brazil. What did you learn in the forum today? You've just been on a session talking about geopolitics and the reality of our fears.
Yeah, first of all, it was very interesting to be discussing with those panelists, also with the journalists that moderated the panel. It was an opportunity to show some of the initiatives that Brazil are doing in order to have a more sustainable production. And you talked about this geopolitics, and it's important to highlight that geopolitics matters, for sure, and we are living in a new era right now. But at the same time, we do believe that Brazil can be, as I like to mention, one of the promoters of what I call the geopolitics of peace. Because we can deliver or can support some food security for the world, also energy security, and also climate security. And we're doing a lot of efforts, for instance, in the climate security in the last 2 years, since President Lula took position as President of Brazil in 2023, Brazil reduced the deforestation in the Amazon biome by 45%. And we are enhancing the law enforcement on that. At the same time, Brazil is what I call, we have some attributes like we are reliable, we also are stable. Brazil also has a very high status, sanitary status, when about diseases, animal disease, because we don't have any case of avian flu, African swine fever, all these diseases that are spread all over the world. So Brazil is a reliable partner for the world when we talk about food, independently of the geopolitics.
So we're talking about new frontiers today, and you've just mentioned a new era. Do you feel that we are here in Brussels, when you're talking to the EU, that I sense that you are describing a change in attitude, a change in perception that you want to communicate?
I think definitely it's a new era, but as I mentioned in the panel, there are 200 countries, almost 200 countries in the world. So we can discuss with those countries that want to discuss with us. And as I mentioned, Brazil is open to discuss with all of these countries because at the end, we are talking about food. When we talk about food, we also talk about hunger. And that's important to remind that in the world there's almost 1 billion people that are facing any kind of food insecurity. So we want to be part of the solution. Of course, this new era can bring some new challenges, but at the same time, we believe that if we produce more and in a more sustainable way, we will do what we call to do, is that provide more food in a sustainable way.
And we talk about sustainability an awful lot at the forum, but of course, if all the countries in the world, you have 27 that need to ratify the deal, the EU-Mercosur deal, and that's not going to be an easy task, right?
Well, this is a decision that should be taken by the European countries, but I think we advanced a lot last year in December the 6th when we have the conclusion of the negotiations for this relevant agreement. And considering the situation that we are living right now, I do believe that there's a very important signal that we can give to the world, being together in this strategic partnership that is the Mercosur-European Union agreement. So I hope that European countries can think about it. Of course, we are open to help in this process. But at the end, there's that European decision. I hope we can reach the final agreement soon in order to give to the world a message that there are two regions that are thinking in collaboration, in cooperation, not in war.
And do you hope that ears are very much open on the other side of the Atlantic when we think about the protectionist agenda and the potential trade wars that are coming from stateside?
Yeah, as I mentioned, Brazil is ready to help any country that need any agricultural product from our side. As I mentioned, we have scale, we are a reliable partner. So I think we can just move on the direction of having more trade, because trade also helps in diminish the pressure on inflation, which is another issue that we are facing nowadays. But at the end, Brazil don't want to discuss geopolitically. Brazil want to sell to everyone that wants to buy products from Brazil. Those countries can count on us.
And do you understand, of course, because we have all the voices here today, you know, the farmer's voice, because here in Europe they will talk about lower labour costs, standards, you know, the less restricted use of pesticides that happen in Brazil. So can you understand the concerns that are voiced, and how important is it for these voices to be shared in the forum today?
First, that's not true, because Brazil comply with all European Union requirements. That's why, for instance, Brazil is selling chicken meat or even beef to European Union since the 80s. And every year, for instance, the G-Santé, which is the agency responsible for the health here in European Commission, they go to Brazil, or every 3 years they go to Brazil and see our system, they see our establishments, and we are always checked as a good supplier. So that's not true that we have low requirements when compared to European Union. At the end, Brazil, especially when we talk about the environment, Brazil in some aspects, we have much more strict regulation than the EU. But of course, we respect the opinions and we work to show to European community that we're not enemies. At the end, we could be even more good partners than we are right now, having this agreement and having this strategic partnership, especially in the days that we are living right now.
And of course you have, you know, wonderful climate, fertile soils, although of course you are, as we all are with climate change, all worried, you know, the floods in Sao Paulo, for example. Climate change is a problem that unites us, and you feel that Brazil has an important part of the solution. You are, of course, hosting COP30 later on this year. So what will the focus be there? Yeah,
actually, the COP30 in Belém, which is the Amazon's heart, is going to be a very interesting moment to show to the world the practices that we are doing regarding sustainability. I mentioned some of them at the panel. We have, for instance, nowadays, we have a national program of reconversion of degraded pastures, which will allow us to put more 40 million hectares of degraded lands that has low productivity to transform it in areas that has very high productivity. So we don't want to have opening new areas, agricultural areas in our country, because we already have enough area to increase our production. So that's what we are doing. Of course, we are very worried about the climate change, and we have some initiatives like also the what we call in Brazil the program ABC Plus, which is a program related to low carbon emissions agriculture. So we are putting our best efforts in order to have a more resilient, a more inclusive, which is important also when you talk, for instance, about the Amazon. There's a population living there, and also a more sustainable production, increasing the production without increasing the new areas. That what we are doing in a strong way there in Brazil.
Well, thank you. Amazon, of course, the lungs of the world. Thank you for really important issues that we've discussed today. Thank you for being at the forum.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much.
You've been listening to another edition of the Food Systems Podcast, brought to you by the Forum for the Future of Agriculture. Join us again next time.